Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. All right, so I think for most of you, this message feels like a little bit of a heads up or a warning. I think for others of you, this could have already happened in the past, but it has something here to do with communication. I feel like there is somebody here from your past that is wanting to open up the lines of communication is what I'm getting. And I do think that you have to be really careful because I feel like this person is going to say all the right things. And the really confusing part is that this person's going to say all the right things because they are feeling a certain type of way, because the way in which this person deceives themselves is what I'm getting. And I strongly feel that this person is some kind of avoidant attachment style. I say that with love. I myself am a fearful avoidant. I test secure in my relationship, but that's about it. So I understand fully like the avoidant tendencies, but you have to watch out here for this particular person because I do feel that they are somewhere along that avoidant spectrum. And one thing to understand about avoidance is that our minds will give us certain experiences. So you probably have noticed sometimes an avoidant can just like maybe lose attraction to you all of a sudden. And that's their mind trying to keep themselves safe. And usually they lose attraction to you at the moment that things start to become routine. Things start to become like predictable, where you start to have some kind of closeness, because avoidants like to keep people at arm's length. They don't want you to go away. They don't want you to come any closer. They like to keep people at arm's length because that's where they feel comfortable and that's where they feel like they are in control of themselves and the situation. And I'm not saying that just to highlight, right? Because some of you yourself might be anxious, preoccupied, because a lot of times that's a combustible mix there. And anxious, preoccupied is the exact opposite. They rush timelines and they want to pull people closer. So you'll have arguments where both people are in the wrong, where it's like, well, you need to let me in. But the anxious, preoccupied is not giving the safe signals like they think they are. And the avoidant is not necessarily fully in the wrong to have some type of issue with the timeline of things or like what's being presented here. So I'm not pointing the finger only at the avoidant here. I'm just saying that the underlying issue with this person has not changed. But I feel like you have in some way closed the door here and you've moved away. And I think that you have been, I just heard clearing out the clutter. You've been clearing out the clutter of your own mind. So you've made a lot of progress here. And then here comes this person wanting to pull you back in. And they might be doing that because it might feel safer for them because they feel like you're not looking for anything or like the pressure is not on. And I think that they've also returned to some kind of unsatisfactory situation. And this is the other thing that is really coming through strong for me that I want to highlight is that this person, the way that you're going to know this person is actually changed and that they are actually on the mend is that they will fully, and hear me when I'm saying fully, they will fully close one door before they open up another door with you. And this person has not done that. I feel like this person has some type of codependent relationship. Now, it could be a romantic relationship that they've got with someone else. To be honest, it doesn't feel very romantic. This feels, like I said, codependent. It feels very needy. It keeps like they keep each other in some kind of cyclical revolving door kind of a thing, because that's what feels comfortable for both of them. Because I feel like they each don't get to get called out on their issues, being in each other's lives the way that they would with a healthy partner where intimacy was actually plausible. And that's what sucks here is I feel like this person has chosen this other person over you, or they have in a sense because they haven't closed this cycle. And for not for all of you is this a romantic thing. For some of you, it is like some type of platonic situation, but I just want to keep on my train of thought here. So they have chosen that over you, and they've chosen a diseased situation. They have not chosen themselves. They have not chosen healing. And I think that is what has thrown you for a loop in your own mind, is that you were willing to show up and you were willing to work through certain things and you're willing to have some kind of intimacy. But because this person is hanging on to something that they can hide behind, that's essentially what it is. And if this is an avoidant, this is extra tricky because it's going to sound plausible to them in their mind why they want to exit out of your situation, but it will also kind of sound plausible to you, but it'll sound like you're being rejected. It'll sound like, well, I guess I just don't feel the spark anymore, or I guess I just don't this or that. But in this particular situation that I'm picking up on, it's just not true. It's this person's brain shutting off and giving them some type of plausible, normal sounding excuse when they have an underlying attachment issue. Okay. And like I said, I have an insecure attachment myself. Like I'm a fearful avoidant, and I know that it's hard. It's a struggle to confront those things, but you don't put that on other people, and you kind of have to realize how your mind is working because of what you've experienced in your past. And I just feel like this person is avoiding. They're avoiding that. They're kind of shirking the issue, which is that they have this like, they're afraid to commit is what I'm getting. They're afraid of that. And committing for this person, they don't need to commit to you. And that's where I feel like you can get very confused by this person, because they might talk the talk of commitment, or at least at some point in this person's cycle, they'll come back around and they'll talk about their feelings. I've realized how much you mean to me. I wish things could be different. I want to have what we had again. I've realized how important that is. I lost myself for a little while, and I think this person is genuine when they come back. But if they're in the middle of their feelings, they're in the middle of the soup, because this person has to understand the root of the cycle. And the root of the cycle is their attachment issues, and that they don't trust people. And that's a big problem, not trusting people. Okay. That's, every person on an avoidant spectrum has learned the hard way that people cannot be trusted. That's not something that is easily undone, but it can be done. And if you yourself have, and here's where you got to be honest with yourself, if you yourself have proven to be a safe person, and a lot of times just having standards and boundaries goes a long way. There's certain things you don't do in a relationship. And as so long as you're living and dying by that, as long as you're sticking the landing on all those things, you're probably a safe person, for the most part in a relationship. And you can have your own underlying attachment issues, like all of that, not being withstanding. But I feel like this person, they leave things in a gray area. This is very tricky, the way that this person leaves certain things open. And it's so that they have plausible deniability in their own mind, so that they can say, well, I want to go try to make it with my family again or something. That seems so they can come take from you, suck a little bit of sweetness out of you, get their fill, take from you, and not actually show up. And then they don't have to blame themselves for that and hold themselves responsible and say, I really have a problem that I keep harming people that I love. Because that's what it is. It's eroding a soulmate connection here. Something that's genuine. And that's coming from this person. At least, I'm not saying that you are, Miss or Mr. Perfect here and that you don't have your own issues and stuff. But like, this person is definitely not in a place where they're picking up their part of the weight. And I think you have been healing. And I think that this person does want to come back, because this situation that they're in is real crap. Like it really is. And it's just very volatile. And I think it's the same for their partner, where their partner is maybe explosive or volatile, or, and again, doesn't get the help that he or she needs as well, because they both deal with each other periodically, at the very least. They tap in and out of this relationship. It's this kind of like revolving door. And maybe this is like with multiple people, I don't know. But it's like, well, I don't have relationship issues. And they point the finger at each other, and like kind of, I don't know, the volatileness of like their relationship, when they both have underlying issues that this exacerbates, but they'll put up with each other. And there's a covert contract here about like, that we do get to point the finger at each other. That's part of the benefit here. We never look at ourselves and like correct the underlying nature of the problem. Because if they did, these two people wouldn't want to be together. They have nothing in common. And there is kind of this like, I would say it's a love-hate thing, but honestly, there's not much love here. It's use. They use each other. It's like a utilitarian thing of the mind, but they can't admit that to each other, and that they run off the people that they're supposed to be around, their soulmates. And that might even be platonic, because I imagine these two are very volatile is what I'm getting, and like just difficult to kind of be around. They might feel like I just heard they might notice that their entire lives implode once they get around each other. It's because spirit is really just trying to get these people away from each other, because they exacerbate underlying issues. And I also think there could be children here, and that's being exacerbated in these children. There's some type of, they're not witnessing healthy bonds. They're just showing me an agitation in the bond space, like for their kids here as well. If there are kids in this situation. But this person, I think they'll tell you that they left their partner, but they'll speak about it, I feel like, in regards to their feelings. Like, I realized that, that was blah, 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 blah. But really, and I think they may have like a co-parenting relationship. There's something, and not for everybody is this a romantic situation, but there's something here where it's like, it seems very pragmatic that these people have to, still be in contact and still be in each other's lives. But if this person, and I just feel like you can't trust this person. That's really it. Because what I was about to say is like, if this person hasn't, like, while they're single, while they're alone, they firmly have that door closed. I will never go back to that person. If you were not in the picture, because I feel like this person's kind of lazy too, and they like drift back to the path of least resistance. And that's this partner, that's this volatile relationship. And I think that tradition and culture and stuff, is a convenient excuse here as well too, because it's like, oh, well, I'm living up to my tradition or my culture. But then they have to, once they're in it and certain realizations that they've already made, when it's that this doesn't work and that this isn't right and that this is a terrible situation for everybody, that'll rear its ugly head. And then they'll frame it. I feel like there's a real framing thing with this person, with their communication in their own mind. They fall for it in their own mind. And then it's very plausible, like I said, when they speak externally, because it's like, and then I had to stand up for myself and break away from the tradition and the culture that was really holding me down. And it is holding them down, but they're going to go right back because this person, they don't have it. They don't have something here, the determination here to break free from this toxic cycle, because there's something that they gain from fighting in the drama. And I think it's distraction. It's distraction from them, from the fact that they are their own root cause here, and their fear of kind of pulling things apart for themselves and kind of sussing out what the underlying issue is. So you could really be taken in here because I feel like they want to resurrect something. And I do feel like it's a romantic relationship. And I think the feelings are very genuine. But as soon as you start to get too close to this person and their fear of intimacy kicks in, then you're strapped back in for a roller coaster ride. And I feel like you're going to be like, huh? Like you'll be really confused, where maybe this person will just ghost, or they'll just, all of a sudden they want to go back to their ex, and then they want to keep that hidden from you because then they can't come back to you. It's this, they are really just lost in the sauce. Yeah. I regret lying to you. This person does lie, and I think that they do regret lying, or at the very least, they'll say that in order to get back into your good graces and to come back around. But I feel like this person, they lie by omission a lot, and they are so good at lying because they lie to themselves. They know that they're in a bad situation. They know that they need to take responsibility for. So I feel like the one thing that you're looking here for in this person, and you might not even be able to see it. And I think that you should be honest with yourself about that, because I think this person is like a shapeshifter. They are a liar. They are deceitful and they justify that in their mind because they tell themselves that they're not safe. And if they were honest about their situation, that it would put them in according to them, like a less advantageous position. And that's according to like their ego, and it's according to their messed up attachment, the messed up way that they form bonds. This person doesn't know another way to form bonds. So to them, it's like, well, then I'm just SOL. I just, if I'm honest, then you're never going to want to come back to me. And then I don't have any options. Now, options is a funny word to come out here because I feel like this is the true difference between you and this other person. This other person, I think, wants to give you every excuse under the sun. Oh, I'm hearing things like, I know it hurts you that I can't make a decision. And I'm not sure. I have so many options. And all of that places them in a good light, doesn't it? Because it's like, oh my gosh, you're so desirable and you're so attractive as a partner that you have so many options. I'm actually getting that you yourself have options. You might not see yourself as having those options, or you might realize that you do have them. But the difference is that you close the door firmly on those options. And I think a lot of you do it when you're single too, because you are not just going to date somebody to date somebody. If it's not a match, it's not a match. You're not wasting your time. Because you don't need the distraction. You are actually on some kind of healing journey. And I feel like Spirit's protecting that. Spirit wants you, I'm hearing the word progress. You've made a lot of progress, but Spirit wants you to continue to progress. And what's really unfortunate here is I think that you do have a soulmate, because I think that you're the safe situation. And so when this person's like, I can't make up my mind, that would be valid if they had two like actual options here. They don't. They have something that they can hide behind. They have, and allow the mold to grow. Something that keeps the sunlight from coming in, and it just allows the mold to grow. That's their other option, regardless of how this person's painting it. Because I think it's a lot of tradition and culture, and we've got these responsibilities. No, this person's not at all living up to their responsibilities. This is a very toxic situation, and that's the more concerning if there are kids involved in this situation, not less concerning. And I just say this as a person who grew up in that kind of environment where divorce genuinely saved my life. Because I would hate to know the kind of person I would be if my parents just tried to stick it out for all those superficial kind of wrong reasons. That's another thing here. Is that superficial really stands out to me. I feel like this person is drawn into superficial relationships because that feels safer to them. But like I've mentioned in other readings, and usually I say this with like people who have some type of mental health like illness, that mental illness, whatever it is, it's like a pattern of thinking, right? It likes to get in the driver's seat. And so when you get triggered and when you feel fearful because something looks like a situation from your past, and that's where this pattern kind of arises from, it wants to get in the driver's seat, but it lies to you. It's like, just trust me. Like, this is how we navigate through. And you have to kind of dismantle that. Okay, well, that worked for me maybe when I was a kid, because when you're a kid, you're in a state of dependence. You don't have any agency, or you don't have the agency that you have as an adult to stand up for yourself and to move away from the situation. So a lot of times the things that keeps us safe as a child is the thing that we have to break and overcome as an adult, because it's a functioning dysfunction. It's not your only option, and it doesn't give you like the same results. Well, with this person, I feel like they gravitate towards superficial relationships and relationships with karmics and people that they don't actually have like a soulmate connection with, because that to them is a false sense of security. That actually feels safe to them when in fact it's not safe, because I feel like their partner's attraction to them is just as superficial, or it's just as not invested in. They invest with like these dramatic cycles of like popping off and being able to hide from themselves and from other people, that I think they have these issues that they need to really be worked out, and that maybe they're not partnership material just yet, because they have to do the healing work, But it's the thing that lies to them, where they're like, go to the superficial situation, go to this person where there's not, because this person I think feels depth with you. That's the intimacy trigger. So they know that they want to move close to it, but then they start moving close to it, and then they start panicking, and they're like, oh God, like, and then they have to like leave. But their brain doesn't, as an avoidant, right? Our brains don't typically process it as, oh God. It cuts off. There's some kind of, it'll fault find for no reason, it'll, and that's what'll, and this person has to be able to intercept those thoughts and say, like, I'm sabotaging. That's what this is. I'm just sabotaging the intimacy here. And I've already determined and ascertained that this is a trustworthy person. And so it's kind of like, I'm hearing that Eminem song, Mom's Spaghetti. But on the surface, he looks nervous. He's nervous, but on the surface, he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting. It's that lose yourself. You only get one shot, right? Lose yourself in the moment. It's like, okay, here's your soulmate. Here's your partner. Are you going to spit up mom's spaghetti, or are you going to actually, this is where this could be fruitful. This is where your healing journey can be fruitful, right? It's not over here in this superficial situation. And so that you get some kind of plaque of, oh, we've been together for 10 years. You've been together for 10 years. You've made everybody miserable. You've given your children a fucking complex. You've also run away all of your soulmates, and neither one of you have addressed your underlying issues. Do you want, I don't know. What do you want? A plaque? An award? What reverence do you feel deserving of? Because it's just a lot of crazy making, but it's dressed up as something positive. And this person is good at that. This person is king at that. This person is so good at dressing up their negative, nasty behaviors as something positive. And then it hurts you all the more because they'll say that to you. They'll say, oh, I'm leaving for this reason or for that reason. And it's because this person's not very deep. They're scared to go deep, first and foremost with themselves, and like really get at the root of their issue. Because I think it's like a lot of shame and it's a lot of insecurity, because I think this person's behaved very badly with you in particular. But I think this is like in a lot of other relationships that actually had depth. This is platonic relationships too. I pick up on energy on the channel a lot that has to do with an affair situation, especially where they knew the other person, that the other partner, they were friends with them or they were a relative to them. That's wild to cheat on somebody that, like that. And I feel like, so a lot of these people, they have a lot of barriers in their way where they've been justifying this like rote behavior, this negative cyclical behavior, because they cannot get to the root of it and admit why they do what they do. And they're not curious about it at all. It would take a lot of courage. And this person doesn't have that right now. I think this person is kind of in a slough of energy. They have gotten themselves in a toxic situation because they followed the voice that says they're safer in superficial relationships and with people who don't have an emotional bond to them, because these people don't have loyalty to them. And I think that they may have been very shocked that these people betrayed them in the way that they did, or that these people keep acting in the way that they do. And it's because there's not emotional connective tissue here. Even if there are kids, and even if they share a last name and all those things that you would say, wow, that's probably the closest person in the world to you. Shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And that's not your mess to sort out. And it's also not for you to be compared against a cycle that is nothing but toxic. And that's either with one specific person, again, romantic or platonic, or it's like this person just refuses to let go of like their partying lifestyle. I feel like this is also like a friendship group that keeps them in these negative ways as well, because it's their way of keeping the door open. And you don't want to be the nag, and this person would make you the nag, because this person looks for any other energy to blame something on anything other than just taking some personal responsibility and taking an honest look at why maybe they do the things that they do and why maybe they're attached to the friend group that they are attached to. And and it's tough too, because a lot of avoidants are very attracted to depth in the beginning. They really want that kind of deep connection, and then they get it and they start to freak out. And it's just this push-pull between like really being drawn in towards healing. They get right up to the edge of it and then they're scared, and that's not including. And sometimes there are people who, again, anxious preoccupieds, y'all not healthy either. Okay. So they can get into relationships with people who also have their own issues that aren't looking at their issues too. And they only want to blame it on the avoidant. And the same goes true for the avoidant, blaming it on the anxious preoccupied. It's vice versa, because the whole issue here is like, doing the healing work for yourself, focusing on yourself, trying to get yourself to a place where you can securely attach to somebody, where you can form like some kind of healthy bond. And you have to be able to really look at your own issues here. And I feel like that's something volatile here is like between these two, where they just kind of stir the pot between the two of them, and it becomes very distracting. And like I said, they get to point the finger at the other person. It's not a healthy, conscious relationship where stuff gets stirred up, but people are looking at themselves, and then that's what they bring to the middle, and they kind of like work that out, because these two, I think, really don't have really anything in common. And that's the draw, actually. That's the allure. And this person has to be able to admit that to themselves. But this is like when they go back to their other situation, it's like taking a puff off the cigarette. Because I also feel like this person maybe can't be alone, because it feels to them like they lose, or that that you win in this situation, or that it feels not plausible. If they were just to leave your situation to go and like be single, they know that your whole friend group and stuff would be like, what? Like, why? But if they go to somebody else and they're like, well, I think I like this person better than you. And also cultural, traditional, whatever. We have kids together. We have these certain responsibilities together. And it's like, well, then what were you doing? Like this person just chooses whatever nonsense is convenient for them. And so it's an incredibly self-centered, self-absorbed behavior. And they may have a partner that's self-centered and self-absorbed, because spirit is trying to get this person to see themselves in that mirror. And I think they get I'm hearing they get like very, very angry with their partner because, and I don't know if partner's the right word, but this person that is like kind of sticky forever in their life, but it's like just noxious. Like, they're like, God, I feel like when they leave, they're like, you're so selfish and I'm always overlooked. Yeah, because they don't care about this person. It's all superficial. I feel like they want things to look a certain way. And then when it doesn't look a certain way, that's when they get angry at this person. Or when this person doesn't give them enough attention, or attention in the right way, or they don't mirror back something the way that this person wants it to be mirrored back, and they actually have their own opinion or something like that. And it's like, God, you're really selfish. Well, yeah, this person's selfish too. So they get what they give out. And spirit is trying to make this person realize, because they have all these excuses, where they're like, well, I'm trying to read the lay of the land and it's just changed. And that's why I'm over here. It's like, they only care about themselves. They don't care about the havoc that they are wreaking on you, their soulmate energy here. But also I think it's like for their children, for their community, for the platonic relationships around these people that have to put up with this. They're together one day and they're not. And, we have TV now in modern times. If you want to watch a drama, you can watch a drama, and you can turn it off when you want to, right? But I feel like there's fallout here. There's debris around these people, and they don't care how that affects other people. They just only care about themselves. It is like something very selfish is going on here. And it's just because this person is, they're not willing to really figure out why they're so scared or why they form bonds the way that they do. I think the same is true for the partner here on the other side, who might be like more anxious, preoccupied. There feels like a lot of fantasy energy here, where they're like trapped in a delusion, because they both of these people classify this like relationship as something other than their life preserver, other than their Siggy. But that's what it is. And that's all it ever is. And it's all it ever has been. But they try to make it seem like it's something more profound, or that it's something more respectable or civilized. And it just isn't. It's a way for both of them to wreak the maximum amount of carnage in other people's lives. People that are genuinely their soulmate. And that's the harsh truth. And I also feel like there's an irony here, because you can't tell either of these people the harsh truth. They're like, oh my God, you're being so mean. Meanwhile, they are just a twister tornado that everybody is just made to deal with. And if you don't deal with it, then you're not kind. then you're selfish, right? There's a lot of projection here. This is just, they're really trapped in this like ego space between the two. And there might be a lot of ego in this connection because again, it feels like very superficial. It feels like it's done for the status of maybe being married or the status of like being in a healthy relationship, or there's something superficial about each one of these people that the other one really latches onto of, okay, well, I'm with this person and I'm able to swing a partner that has this or is that way, kind of a thing, but it's all ego. But ego has defense mechanisms, and this relationship is full of just ego defense mechanisms where a lot of it is, there's a lot here that's repressed. They're both in denial about a lot. When you hear either of these people talk about their relationships, there's a lot of like denial. They have excuses. This is what I'm saying. These are people that don't catch these kinds of things in their mind, where everybody went through the last breakup, okay? And people who are not involved with this, they don't have an agenda. They have no dog in that fight to not see it clearly. And so when they reflect it back to either of these people, I think there's a real like, well, you just don't understand, or they like make some kind of excuse. And that's the denial. That's like the repression. There could also be like a reaction formation. And I think there's a lot of reaction formation in regards to the way they feel about relationships in general, and also their cultural and traditional beliefs, whatever's going on here, because neither of these people are actually cultural or traditional people. It's a convenient excuse for their politicking. To say, oh, well, I'm Christian or I'm, Islamic. And really it's just, they're not, you'll notice. And this might sound harsh, but it is truth. I just heard it's the God honest truth. They're not Christian all the time, these people. I just heard like for some, they like had a child out of wedlock. Where was your Christianity then? And I don't really care about that stuff personally, but I'm just saying I did grow up Christian. And I know what that ethos is. It is a complete system. So there's like a little, I take this when I want to, and then I don't live up to it when I don't want to. But again, these people they'd have to be able to hold themselves accountable, and they don't. There's no consistency in their beliefs and in their ideals. And so it's just about convenience. And they'll frame their beliefs or whatever, like whatever way they need to get away with their selfish maneuvering. That's what goes on here between these two people. And they both do it, and they both have it's a covert contract, some kind of covert contract where they're running away from their path and what they actually need to be doing and where that would lead them, which is very far away from each other is what I'm getting. If they fully let this go and they shut the door on this, noxious chapter in their human history, the two of them. This is something that very much keeps both of these people sick. And if you involve with either of these people, I feel like this is even in a platonic sense, while they are not fully closing the door. And it's tricky, especially if there's kids here, because they'll frame it like, oh, well, we're done. We're totally done. But the thing is, the second that this person I'm picking up on, I think their partner might be anxious, preoccupied. I don't know. Take this however it resonates. But the person I'm picking up on here is avoidant. They're somewhere along like the avoidant spectrum, I think. As soon as their intimacy starts to really tap in, or as soon as this starts to actually it's not superficial anymore. Because this person, there's a paradox here, there's an irony here, because when you invest in a healthy relationship, you do get things out of it, and so when this person is asked to invest, or when it doesn't allow them to be selfish, they need to put someone else's needs, somebody that they care about, they need to put their needs before themselves for a time. And I think there might be karmas here. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that this person just has karmas where it's like they need to show up for people. But whenever they're asked to do that, they feel put upon. They feel like this isn't equitable, this isn't fair. And that'll sound correct in this person's brain because they have an attachment issue that they're not getting to the root of. Because it's actually normal to do things for other people that you love. And that's a way that you invest, and it's a way that you build intimacy. And this person is they're running away from that. And I think it's this underlying fear of like, well, what if you do leave me? I think this person is actually afraid of you leaving them deep down, because they feel so strongly towards you and they know that it would destroy them. They leave their partner when the wind changes direction. And they don't give a shit because it's superficial between them. And they don't like this person, and this person doesn't like them. Not really. They think it's a love-hate situation, but I'm really just it's actually hate. This is actually a situation that's built on hate. There's really no love here because it's all just superficial. I think what they love about each other is they love the drama and they love the shield that the other one gives for their negative like behaviors. So they feel like they can have somewhat of a normal existence instead of actually going through a healing process to actually genuinely achieve a normal, healthy existence. You see what I'm saying? So that's what they love about it. So when they rush back, and it'll feel, again, it's like taking a hit off that ciggy because it feels like it's a shield. A shield comes up and around that person's behaviors. This also reminds me of like the player abuser archetype in why does he do that? Because the fact that they're like cheating or the fact that there's somebody else distracts you. The pain of that is so intense because it makes you feel lacking. And I feel like that's one of the things that is just absolutely unacceptable is this person's biggest fear actually, I think, is you leaving them, which is why I think you got to pack up and go. Don't be an option for this person because you were never meant to be an option. You are their person. You're Venus is what I'm getting. So Venus ain't your mama. Okay. So Venus can make a decision when something's not fair. And I think that that's what you're being called upon to do here because this person has made your situation toxic and noxious because of not getting to the root of their own issues. There shouldn't be anyone else involved. So it's not really the third party's fault because, I mean, yeah, they've got their own issues and they just kind of feed off of each other and it is toxic and unhealthy. But your person should be able to get to the root of their issues. And even if they can't, like, they know this situation's unhealthy. And if they don't know that, then something wrong. So it's, this person just can't stand up. They can't live up. They can't make a difficult decision and stick to it. There's a weakness in this person that needs to get addressed. There should not be anyone else involved in your relationship. There just shouldn't. There's no excuse for it. And I think that that's something that I meant to remind you of, again, is this like heads up and kind of like a warning situation here. Because like I said, I think it's terrible because this person, deep down, their biggest fear is that they feel so strongly for you that you are going to leave them. And yet they've perpetrated that against you multiple times where they've checked out of the relationship emotionally. There's infidelity here because they keep these other doors open. And it's just to take a hit off that ciggy. And so they never fully invest because they're scared to fully invest. That's really what's going on here. But you end up getting disrespected. And it's really poisoned the well between the two of you. And you can't be the only one cleaning it up. Because I think you were like, I'm willing to salvage this connection, but you've got to show up. And this person just does not show up. And so therefore they're not a safe, trustworthy person. And so if you try to apply healthy relationship, like let's sort this out, like I'm open to what you're saying. If you're open to what this person's saying, it's, I think, been consistently shown to not be backed by anything. But they're really good. They're a sweet talker is what I'm getting. This person's very good with their language, but their actions do not follow through. And it's really disingenuous the way they represent themselves. And they lie to themselves in their own mind, but they're like, no, I fully did leave my partner. And they put that person on the back burner, but they didn't sever it. They didn't make it. They didn't leave that situation in a way where they cannot go back. And that's why I think like this person needs to be alone. Because they also like jump from situation to situation because this person always needs like a shield. They always need a cover. So anyways, please be very, very careful. I feel like this person, either for some of you, they came back, they said all the right things and you thought, oh my God, this person's changed. And you took this person back and then they left again. And they went back to their like noxious situation, leaving you in like shambles, leaving you feeling like you aren't enough. That's what I don't have respect for people like this that just like push their all their issues onto someone else and make somebody else feel the way that they feel. And they should really be dealing with that themselves. It's not fair. It's not right. And I feel like you've been put in that position. And I also think that your mouth is open. It's like you're showing up with your heart on your sleeve, just like this person's acting like they're doing. And they're not really doing it that way. And so it is a betrayal. It's a betrayal of the worst kind. And this person doesn't want to experience that betrayal themselves. And they might be convinced that you would leave them if you found out who they really were. So maybe it's just time to agree. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like this is just a heads up. So like I said, either this already happened in the past and your energy is reeling. You're like, so what was all of that they were saying? Because I was really convinced about it. Well, this person has an attachment issue. And especially with avoidance, like avoidants always have a rich inner world. And they like to live in their head because they can control things in their head. And so they'll have a fantasy about the kind of life that they want or the kind of partner that they want. That's much, much easier. The fantasy of you is much, much easier than the reality of you. And this person will either admit that to themselves and decide that they want something real or not. And so they can be in a miserable situation and then have some kind of controllable fantasy of you where you're their robotic wife, and you say all the things and you do all the things and they don't feel threatened by that, in in the same way. The other thing is though, that this person potentially is thinking about coming back and they're thinking about saying these things. And maybe it's a combination of both for some of you, where they did that in the past and then now they're doing it again. And it's like this going around and around on a cycle thing here. I don't think this person, that's another thing that's difficult, is like, I don't think this person is like malintended. I think they buy their own bullshit. I think that they don't know another way. And I think it'll be a real tower moment splash when this person is able to see like, whoa, my mind is sabotaging my relationships, because it'll shut off and it'll say that I'm not attracted to this person. And then as soon as I get away from this person, I'm attracted to them again or something. It's like, it's because they're afraid of intimacy. And that's the underlying issue. They don't feel like people can be trusted. And it's hard to fix that, because you have to fix it with a safe person. And I think you were that for them. And I think that's why you are the real loss in this situation. And this person, they don't have options. They have distractions. They're choosing their distraction. They're choosing to stay sick. But so it's not fair for this person to say things to you like, well, I have this other option. They really actually don't. You are the option. They're going to live up to it or they're not. And I think this person, once they've been in a shit scenario, then that's when they want to come back around. But underlying issues have not changed in this situation. So try not to get swept up away in pretty words. Really look at someone's situation, really see if you feel comfortable. Anyways, that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.